Well, I got a Frank tap here in the kitchen and it started to drip again. We had this some years ago and it ended up being a dirty valve in here, ceramic valve. So I've done a video on that one, but I was able to work out which one it was by turning off the supply to each side under the sink, and as soon as it stopped the drip I knew which one it was, and in this case it's the cold. So get your plugs in here in your sinks so nothing can fall down there and get lost to make a whole new game. So once your water's off, you can turn your tap to the full on position, because you'll need to do that because it's a bit easier to gain access to the little hole behind here. You'll need to get yourself an Allen key. It's a very small one, very small indeed. Get that in there, and of course remember it's righty tighty, lefty loosey. So you're going to do the left direction to loosen that. So get it in there, make sure it's nice and solid so you're not rounding it off, get the correct size, and then turn it left to undo. And what you'll be left with is this very tiny grub screw here. So it's really, really tiny, and that will come out. I found it easier just to remove it all the way, because once you've done that, you should be able to slide this off. Ours was pretty stiff because it was full of muck, but there we go. And of course it is keyed. All these splines here will need to go back on in the right direction, but you do that when you put it back together. So take that off, give it a clean. Certainly needs it for us. And then the second thing is you have to unscrew this collar as well. So again, remember, lefty loosey to unscrew this. I found it easier to use some rubber gloves to get some better purchase, or elastic band for instance for extra grip. Undo this collar. And ours is a bit gross again, so we're going to give that a clean. Remove that, and that's giving you access to the valve body. And then what we need there is some adjustable spanner to get this off. Again, we're going to undo that lefty loosey and unscrew this valve body and give it a good clean in some limescale solution. So let's give that a go. Right, I've got some comically large ones here. These are 10-inch, but it gives you more torque if you have a decent size and decent length adjustable spanner. So I'm going to stick it on here. Now this is quite, or can be quite difficult, because depending on how long that's been in there and how strong your sink is, I mean, you can see there's already a bit of a flex in this sink. It's not the strongest sink. You'll need to undo this, and I'm going to go that way, and you can already see that it's bending the entire sink, so you've got to be very careful. Make sure you don't scratch anything, get some cloths down, and I'm going to hold the tap with one hand and very slowly undo this. So get plenty of towels down. I'm going to get it in a good position for me. That's a bit high, so I'm going to go, okay, I'll go high. That's all I can do for the minute. Make sure you're fully gripped up. I'm going to hold the tap. Oh, and there we go. We are slowly undoing. Different angle. So I'm going to get my lovely adjustables on here. Nice and locked in. And we're going to undo that. Oh, there we go. Yeah. And we are off. There we go. It's just, I think it's just released. Yeah, there we go. You're going to get some water coming out because it drains the neck. There we go. And there is our valve body. So it's blue for cold, and then we will make sure that's clean in there, and then we'll get it all back up and running. It's really just the reverse. Now I did notice that when I was undoing this initially, this collar here was moving slightly, so when you do it up, just make sure it's really nipped up nice and tight, but not crazy. I'm also going to take the opportunity to remove the diffusing end, because that's also probably pretty gummed up with limescale. So we'll give that a nice soak at the end as well. Might as well use it up. drop that in. So yeah, reverse is really just getting it back in. Screw it as tight as you can. Get these, screw it up. It's already pretty nipped up. You'd have to get crazy, just so it's nice and tight. There we go, that actually feels nicer as well, to be honest. Get your collar, it's all been nice and cleaned. There we go. Doesn't have to go too tight, you can always just make it a bit tighter if you need to. And then get your adjustment ready, so that's on the closed position. Let's go for full open. It was about there. There we go, so I'm about a tooth out. So once you line it up, you should be just on the top here. If you do need to, you might need to just squeeze it up a little bit more, because I want that to be level, so I'm going to go a little bit further up because that's not quite flush on there. So take that one off, take your collar off, and then just give this a little bit more of a tweak. I'm just going to have a look. Yeah, that's better. So you can see it needs to be quite tight. Make sure it's lining with your other tap. So it just needs to be tight enough to line up. And then really get your grub screw back in. Let's have a look at that. There we go. You only have a little bit of adjustment, so if it's out, it'll look like that, or might look like that. So just get it as close as you can, and then get your grub screw back in, tighten it up, and job's good. And I've cleaned the diffuser out as well. You can push this out. If it's a bit limescale ridden, it might be difficult, but there we go, that's how it goes together. Collar, the filtery diffusery bit, and then the washer. So give them a nice clean in that solution, and make sure you rinse it afterwards, of course, in clean water, and then it should be nice and ready to go. By the way, as I've just found, when I unscrewed this inner valve body, it actually unscrewed the I think it's called like a bush, the brass bush as well. It unscrewed that just a little bit. So what I had to do was use the adjustable spanner just to make sure that it was really tight, which in turn turned the bush as well. So I had to make sure that was really, really tight, because what was happening was the air was coming in through this gap, and that was actually making it leak still. So just by tightening this a little bit more than I expected, it's just tightened the bush up as well, and that then has in turn stopped any air getting in, causing it to drip. So we're now fully up and running. There's no drips at all. So yeah, that's nice and sealed. It's obviously hard to do without the handle. There we go. And you might need to fettle a little bit, just making sure that that's tight enough but not too tight, to make sure that aligns up with the other tap spout. So it's a bit of a shame there's an extra bush in here which causes that possible air leak. So just something to be aware of there. You may need to tighten this one a little bit more, or replace it, of course, as you do, and then make sure everything's nice and tight, and then align everything up, which I think is as good as it's going to get, without using the extra valve body to buy from new. But yeah, we're done. So that's no longer dripping, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to screw the decorative cover back on. Doesn't have to be too tight, because you may want to get this off in the future. And then make sure your tap is aligned. That's nice. Yeah, it feels a bit nicer as well, actually, so I think that was definitely needed a bit of a clean. And then, of course, we've got the grub screw to do.